this astaxanthin supplement, I hear it's 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, 100 times stronger than vitamin E, and 800 times stronger than CoQ10?
Yes, astaxanthin supports joint health, memory health, even anti-aging and immune health. This Hawaii brand delivers 3 times more nature-identical astaxanthin to your body and is a better buy than the competition. It's called Xanthicin. Safely manage your inflammatory health with Xanthicin. It's pure and highly absorbed, providing greater benefits. Visit getxantho.com and these retailers.
All right, how's it going, everybody? Episode 24. We've made it to 24 episodes here on Hawaii Football Now, presented by Xanthicin. A big mahalo to our other sponsor, Spectrum Mobile, as well. Jordan Helle, Hunter Hughes, back with you. Our guy Jaron on the controls. We record this Wednesday morning, February 9th, 7:15 a.m. That's right. We're up. The sun is still coming up, but you know, we fit the schedule around whatever we need to. And again, shout out to our guy Devin on YouTube, who's sort of asking for the timestamp. So Devin, I hope this has been helpful for you the last couple of weeks. We're fairly close, right? Just about 24 hours outside of our release on Thursday morning. We've been fortunate the last couple of weeks that like breaking news hasn't happened between recording and posting of the episode. That happened to us way too many times over the last couple of months. So thanks to the Hawaii football program for kind of, you know, mellowing out a little bit as we move through it.
For real.
But, you know, never say never. Who knows, right? They could have big breaking news sometime later today. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
As we move already basically a third of the way through February. Kind of hard to believe it is Super Bowl Sunday this Sunday. And so for our quick opening drive here, Hunter, Super Bowl is so much, it's a spectacle, right? It's an event. It is much bigger than just the game on the field, the halftime show, the lead up, the prop bets, everything that comes with it, the watch parties, all of the above. How do you usually take in the Super Bowl? And do you have like a go-to Super Bowl snack, food, something like that's got to be among the spread at your Super Bowl gathering?
Wings. I could pretty much do wings all day, any day. But most specifically watching the Super Bowl, if I can get my hands on it. I remember a couple of years ago when the Patriots played the Rams, last time the Rams were in the Super Bowl, I was in France and they don't have buffalo wings over there.
No buffalo wings in France.
No buffalo wings. I did my best to try to make them over. It was brutal. We ended up throwing them away.
Are you a buffalo guy? Are you more of like a dry sort of seasoning? Are you sauce? Like what's the wings look like for you?
Saucier the better. My mom's side of the family is actually from the East Coast, so I've been to all sorts of like authentic Buffalo, New York wing spots. So it's kind of a traditionalist in that way.
Nice.
And the messier the better. So are you a bone-in guy, Jordan, or are you boneless?
I don't know if this is just sort of a cop-out answer, but I don't necessarily care that much as long as the thing has like good seasoning. I do like kind of a nice little, like lemon pepper, like a little on the drier side of things. But yeah, I mean, I think the bone end is usually a little better, right?
There we go.
But I'm not picky because I'm not making it. So, I wouldn't say I'm a traditionalist when it comes down to it.
I will throw in some Parmesan garlic though, if it is available. It's a nice little cooling break from the fire that is some of the hot wings that we grab. So it's a nice little deep breath, if you will.
Yeah. If I'm eating like buffalo wings, I need like a tub of ranch.
Yes.
Just a whole lot of ranch being dipped into. That's my go-to. I'll submit to the public boiled peanuts. Like give me some good boiled peanuts it's great, right? You can start with it, you can end with it. It's the perfect munching food as you maybe consume a chilled beverage or four as you work your way throughout the game. So yeah, I think we'd be pretty good shape if we had some wings, some good boiled peanuts, a nice cooler. I think we'd be hosting a fairly good Super Bowl watch party if that's what we had for the folks who were joining us. So that's always a lot of fun. We'll kind of close out the episode too, and get Hunter's pick as to who he thinks is going to win this thing, whether it's going to be Joey Burrow and the Bengals or the Galactic Stars of LA when it comes to the Rams. So we'll see how that goes. All right, transitioning into our first half here. Last week we got into some of the new additions, coaching staff, signees for the University of Hawaii program. Things still coming together, right? I believe at last check, there's still technically a couple of position coach spots that haven't necessarily been filled. We'll see, where exactly Timmy Chang, the head coach, is maybe directing his focus, if he's spending time with a position group or anything like that. But they've hired a couple of others, right? You got Josh Brown, the safeties coach, which I think is the most high profile addition that we have seen since last week, where we kind of took a deep dive into the preliminary hires, which was, to be quite honest, the bulk of what the staff will look like. You had Jimbo Davis hired as well. Excuse me. Jimbo Davis, quality control coach. They've hired a few of those. He played at Nevada up until 2017, worked on the coaching staff. There are obvious connections, I think, out there with the head coach and some of his hires. And then, as I mentioned, Josh Brown, the safeties coach, probably the most significant of the recent hires. He has spent time at UTEP. He coached at Nevada Reno with Timmy Chang. He coached at Cal Poly, FCS school with Coach Yoro, the defensive coordinator. So a lot of familiarity there. And I think that's what we're seeing, right, Hunter? And I know it's been a similar type of struggle with, Timmy Chang and the previous regime coming in sort of late in the cycle, right? And not only do you hire a head coach late in the cycle, then you got to hire assistant coaches late in the cycle. And so you're looking at, guys from lower levels. You're looking at guys with connections, right? I think in Todd Graham's defense, one of the things that he, struggled with a little bit was finding those assistant coaches, right? And often it was guys just being elevated from GA spots elsewhere, kind of coming recommended word of mouth. So what do you make of particularly Josh Brown, who comes in and takes over a position group that had been one of the strengths, right? When you think of guys like Corey Bethley, who technically, were of those hybrid type of body types, and we'll get to Corey here in a little bit, but Josh Brown, and this continuing theme of familiarity with the hires and the head coach.
Yeah, I think anytime you can get coaches that have previous stops in alignment with the staff that you're already trying to put together is going to be a huge win. The coaching staff is a team as well. You got to kind of operate as a team, and your flow will be determined on, how well you get along with each other. And so the fact that, he was at Nevada with Coach Timmy, but then also at Cal Poly with Yoro. Yoro is our new DC. So on the defensive side of the ball, Yoro's the boss. I think being over a position like safeties, other than your middle linebacker, usually your strong safety is the quarterback on the defense position as well, or the defensive side of the football. So, I mean, it's very important. Not exactly sure what type of defensive look we're going to get from these guys just yet, because this is Coach Yoro's first season as a DC. But with their success last year, I even with the loss to the transfer portal with some of these guys, I still feel confident that Yoro is going to get it done on the defensive side. We were just was really solid over there, and as a fan, as an alumni, I could rest assured that we were going to hold it down on defense. So I expect nothing less with the addition of Josh Brown.
Yeah, and that dynamic that you talk about, right? A coaching staff, particularly on a football team, really is a team within itself, right? And like a football program, because it's so big, because it is, just the sheer number of players. I mean, you're talking over 100 players with the coaches, the support staff, like you're talking 150 people. And it's almost more of a conglomerate in a way, right? Because you've got position groups that operate within, their unit of the football, whether it's safeties working within the defense, which then works within the greater team as a whole under the head coach. the overlap of special teams, right? Taking a lot of these guys, whether, if it's punt return, a lot of those guys are playing on defense anyway. So there's so much overlap, right? And so in your experience, I was kind of curious if you could kind of go into that a little bit more, and what a good functioning coaching staff looks like, right? Because I think you've seen it at successful programs and elsewhere, right? There's a cohesion, but there's also a bit of a competitiveness, because just inherently, right, it's a little adversarial when you're talking offense versus defense, and just what that boils down to. But how does that work? How does that operate in practice for a successful team when you're it's a lot of moving parts?
Totally, it definitely is. And for the general public out there, you don't really realize that these, Division I coaching staff generally will put in about 60 hours a week on the low end and about 80 hours a week in the offices, or at practices going over film on the high end. So they live on campus. They live down in those stinking offices. They are watching film. They are breaking up. Let me say this, that they're supposed to be working. Let me just put it that way, okay? That they're supposed to be working, and they keep telling us that they're spending all this time up there. So all that we know as players are, the coaches are up there, getting their stuff done. And so with that, it helps to have guys around you that you appreciate as people and that you get along with. That's why, Rolo hired so many of his former teammates. And then we're kind of seeing a similar style with Coach Timmy, with the adding of a lot of these assistant coaches. It's people that he already has a relationship with. And then when you're on the practice field, you answer direct. It's kind of like the Army. You answer directly to your commanding officer, which is your position coach. They're giving you insight what your job is as a part of the bigger picture. But then everyone, if Coach Timmy comes by, the head coach, and he has something to say or some insight, everyone stands at attention and tries to listen for insight right there, so that everybody can get on the same page. But it is kind of like these little squadrons, these little units that have their marching orders in a sense, that kind of all get brought together for the big pie, if you will. And then, it gets kind of interesting with special teams. It gets interesting with walk-ons, which I was, because then you're kind of like these interchangeable parts, if you will, during a practice. There would be one moment I'd be with the quarterbacks, and then I was on scout team punt return, and so they would bring me over and I would do scout punt return. You're kind of always on alert for when your position group, when those things go down. And so just because that coach may not be your position coach, like they're still an authority figure, and so you gotta still be alert to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's tough, right? It's the hallmark of, I think, successful programs are coaching staffs that have chemistry, that can work together, that can bounce off of each other. There is a built-in competitiveness that I think can drive and be healthy, and we'll see if that team building can be fostered under Coach Chang. That's going to be a big thing. And on that note of sort of team building, roster construction, it's been interesting to see the approach that the University of Hawaii has taken here through the recruitment process, through the signing period, basically. And we touched a bit upon it kind of in depth last week with the most recent signing class last week, basically a week ago, right? On February 2nd with traditional signing day in Hawaii, basically welcoming 15 in total through the December signing period and the traditional signing period at the beginning of February. And Coach Chang kind of talking about, they've got a fair amount of scholarships to hand out because of all the departures, right? In large reason why they've got a number of roster spots open. And so, Coach Chang talked about not necessarily just handing all those scholarships out at once, right? You could, but he talked about sort of taking their time, signing the guys that they felt were the proper fit, signing the guy that they felt, had the profile of player, of person of character that they were looking to bring into the program. And so it's not like they signed a shortage of guys or anything like that, but they do sort of build in a buffer to bring in guys, later on. There, if you look at the transfer portal, there is like an inordinate amount of dudes just sort of in purgatory in the transfer portal, dudes still entering the transfer portal. And it seems like they are keeping options open, which isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. You've seen guys like Derek Boyd, a running back out of Lawndale High School in the LA area, 6'1", 215, very productive running back, had some FCS offers, I think Southern Utah. Like, he announced his commitment to the University of Hawaii. He's a class of 2022 guy, so he's graduating, this semester from high school. He announced that he was signing with the University of Hawaii, although that hasn't been announced by the University of Hawaii, right? You had Devin Talaef, the wide receiver out of St. Louis School, basically the day before signing day, February 1st, announced that he was coming to the University of Hawaii, but nothing out there from the university in terms of signing or anything like that. So I don't know if these guys are, gray shirt candidates, blue shirt candidate. You talking colored shirts when it comes down to it, which is always complicated, but it's basically delaying, when these guys clock start, when the scholarships start counting toward your official tally. And these guys, whether it's you enroll spring semester next year or you're granted your scholarship only once the fall semester starts, it's basically delaying the start date of a lot of these things. And so that seems to be something that the coaching staff is utilizing as well. I don't know for sure if that's the plan for guys like Talaefa or Boyd, but it kind of leads you to believe that it's something along those lines, if that hasn't been announced by the university. Of course, the other possibility is that, maybe guys aren't qualifiers and they'll need to go the junior college route, or they'll need to delay and get their grades up or something like that. I don't know even if that's in play, but it is a possibility. So just wanted to mention that. So what have you made, Hunter, of how they have approached things? We talked kind of specifically about individuals last week, but just big picture when it's come to recruiting and how this staff has approached roster construction, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like poker. You don't want to go all in right at the beginning of the game. We're in a new kind of frontier with recruiting, with college football, because of all of the versatility that the transfer portal allows for. I think we're going to see guys signed right up until fall camp, honestly, this summer. It's a very different dynamic than anything we've ever experienced before. And I add that in because, Hawaii has always kind of benefited, not necessarily from the transfer portal, but we're big on bringing junior college guys in here. We've got, great history, and I know we'll get into this in the second half, a great walk-on program with some pretty prominent names that have been Hawaii heroes in the past that were literally true walk-ons. I think it's wise of this coaching staff not to, in a sense, burn all of those scholarships right off the bat, when you never know, a serious high caliber player might have a bad day with the coaching staff of wherever they're at and say, I'm out of here. I want to come back to Hawaii. That could happen instantaneously. So it's kind of interesting. You want to be prepared for when those things happen. And, I know those coaches right now are still in communication with guys, that there's a lot of situations where kids are still in school through this spring semester right now. And just because it didn't happen on National Signing Day doesn't mean they still can't come play for Hawaii.
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? And you've seen guys like Akila Kamakaviva Ole, right, who had announced that they were looking at entering the portal. They're apparently staying now, and that was a big thing that Coach Chang sort of threw out there, right? He said, hey, guys that were looking to maybe leave would be welcomed back within the program. And whether that happens now, right, whether they don't leave at all, or if they do leave and guys want to come back, or players that went to the mainland, especially local kids that went to the mainland to start their college careers that want to come home. That door is open, and yeah, I think you're seeing it, right? Like blue shirting. I didn't even know what it was really, and I think it's a more recent development, right? Gray shirting always seemed to be the thing that was the way around the red shirt, or the way around of delaying your scholarship and still bringing you into the fold. And so there are all these different things now, and different ways to sort of, I don't know if game the system is the right word, but operate within the system. And when you start bringing, some of these players in at different starting points, and but just bringing them into the fold in general, I think it is the ultimate goal. And so for this group, um, you know, I guess the big question, Hunter, is, when is it a point where you're waiting too long? When is it like, hey, you got to start bringing dudes in because you got to fill out your roster? Coach Chang just posted today on Instagram, I believe it's 200 days until kickoff to open the season. So it seems like a long way off, but it's really not, right? Spring ball's around the corner, summer camp's around the corner, opening kickoff is not that far around the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love to look this up for the next episode on when that date actually is. Is there a specific date with the transfer portal that you got to have guys signed for the fall season by? I'm sure that date exists. This can't just be the Wild West, sign guys.
It seems like
it feels like that, but I'm sure there's got to be some sort of an exact deadline out there for some regulation on all of this. But then you got to also remember that these kids are going to school, and universities have deadlines for applications, getting into their programs, getting into school. Fall semester is not that far away, and you got to make sure, with some of these guys, financial aid is taken care of. You got to make sure room and board is taken care of. All of those nitty gritty details of being a student athlete at University of Hawaii, that's got to be checked. Those little boxes that actually make it possible need to be taken care of. So, I can just remember off the top of my head, Drew Brown was a late signee. He wasn't with us in the spring. He was still playing up at College of San Mateo, and he came in the fall and ended up battling with Ikaika Woosley for the head job back in 2016. So people can come in and make an impact immediately. I think it's certain key guys. I'm glad we're bringing another quarterback in there. I'm glad that he will be here for the spring portion of our training camp, because you need those reps, not only just with the team, but with the scheme that they are going to commit to as an offense. And then on the defensive side of the ball, we need to figure out who we are now with the loss of some serious pieces, mainly Laolu and Muasau, and then also Corey Bethley. So we're needing to figure out who we are in absence of those guys. So I agree, Jordan, the clock is ticking.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And we'll go ahead and take our halftime break now, and then we'll bring up Corey Bethley once again, because he has announced his destination and where he is departing to. But of course, first, before that, we got to tell you about our good friends over at Xanthicin, the only brand that delivers 3 times more astaxanthin than the competition. Helps with joint and muscle function, cholesterol, and cognitive health. Astaxanthin is even recommended by doctors and pharmacists for its anti-aging qualities. You can get it at Newtown Square Pharmacy, Down to Earth Kaka'ako, and Pharmacare Hawaii, as well as getxantho.com. Again, check out getxantho.com to learn more. That's getxantho.com to find out more. Second half coming up.
This is Hawaii Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, second half time here on Hawaii Football Now. It's episode 24. Jordan and Hunter with you. And Hunter, we've been talking sort of roster construction, what it looks like, how that works out, what the recipe for success is for the Timmy Chang era. And you got guys coming in, you got guys going out. And we did want to start off the second half. Hey, if you're a student listening, full-time enrolled, I think is the requirement here in the spring semester, walk-on tryouts. February 25th, that's a couple of Fridays from now. You never know. You never know who's just lurking around campus, man. You might find a hidden gem. It was announced around signing day that the walk-on program will include Chad Owens Jr. Yes, that Chad Owens Jr., the son of UH football legend Chad Owens, this coming fall. Just what's the significance of building that strong walk-on program? We know about Chad's story. There are many others, and quite honestly, especially during the June era, that walk-on program was massive for the University of Hawaii.
Huge. I mean, if you look just into our immediate history, Bryant Moniz, in my opinion, top 5 quarterbacks in Hawaii football history, literally came from a walk-on tryout, just like this. I think Chad was actually a preferred walk-on, Chad Owens. So I don't know if he actually went to, I would love to be corrected if I'm wrong, but I think he, coming out of Roosevelt, was a preferred walk-on situation, but still had to earn a scholarship. It's huge on multiple levels. Sometimes you can, legitimately catch a diamond in the rough, someone that's going to make immediate impact on the playing field, and then other times it's supplemental roster construction for support guys. I mean, that was pretty much what I was. I remember walking in, shaking Coach Chow's hand and asking if they needed help. And after performing well, they found a spot for me. And my hope was just that I could be there as support and help for the rest of the guys. Because like you said earlier, Jordan, on a Division I football team, it's so big. There's so many moving pieces. You need good quality people in the locker room to be encouraging, to be role models. They make an impact on the day-to-day of a football team by just being around. And so the walk-on experience is detrimentally important for a program like UH, and especially right now. Obviously, this is a horrible comparison, but I immediately think back, when Marshall University back in the 70s, when they had that accident and a lot of their team, was passed away in that plane accident. They relied not only on the playing of freshmen, but also on walk-ons as well, to supplement their roster in a time of great need. And I don't want to ever compare a national tragedy to what has happened to us in the transfer portal. I think that's a bit steep. However, we need anything that we can get our hands on to try to put a football team together. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see what comes out of that for sure.
Yeah, honestly, I would, if that was like televised, I would tune in just to see, right? Like what's out there, right? And I think
I want to go down. I want to watch.
Bringing up Brian Moniz is a great example, right? Like sometimes you never know, right? Especially some of these guys who maybe have been great high school careers and for whatever reason it didn't work out or whatnot. I'm curious to see what could come out of the walk-on tryouts, right? Some of these guys find their way there, and they're waiting for this day, right? They've been training, so yeah, no shame, man. We're kind of serious. If you're a student and you think you can help, go.
The worst thing they can say is no,
right? Which doesn't change anything, right? It's not like that wouldn't change anything you're currently doing. So
that's exactly
what
right.
the heck?
Now,
why not get out
for those
there?
listening, though, I will say a couple things. Make sure that you are in shape. Make sure that whatever position group you're going out for, you at least shake that coach's hand. You go about your business in a professional manner. These coaches look to check off boxes for walk-ons. Make sure your grades are halfway decent. They ain't bringing a walk-on on with a D average. Let me just say that. And when you're out there, make sure you ball out, man. A lot of times the rest of the team turns up just to see what sort of walk-ons have a shot at making their team. And sometimes too, during the conditioning part, the guys like to see the guys at walk-ons kind of get tortured in a little way. So get ready for Division I football conditioning at the end of that tryout, because it's tough.
Yeah, good advice. Good advice. Definitely be in shape. You don't
Yes.
want to go out there and be heaving on the sidelines. All right, so we mentioned some of the guys coming in, or at least the profile of guy coming in, departures as well, right? No surprises there. Corey Bethley was one of the late guys to enter the portal, and basically after Todd Graham leaves the University of Hawaii football program. And Bethley said he was coming back. Then he decided against it once the coaching change happened. And he is ultimately going to end up at Arizona State. And I think a lot of people who followed his career, especially last season, felt that he probably was going to end up in the Power Five. Like he was that prolific. The dude was borderline All-American. The number of defensive player of the weeks he got, both in conference and on a national level, he was a playmaker, an absolute wrecking ball, and fit in that Todd Graham defense almost perfectly as that hybrid. And so, kudos to him. Like he's another one of the guys that are basically leaving this football program to go play Power 5 football. We've got guys at Oklahoma. We've got guys, I know Cincinnati's technically not in the Power 5 yet, but they were in the playoff. We got guys going to Cincinnati. We got guys going to Arizona State. Like they're just shows you the talent. UCLA, right? We've got guys going to UCLA, Darius Musa. There was a lot of talent that goes without saying. But Corey Bethley tweeting out on Saturday that as one door closes, another opens. Forever grateful for my time in Hawaii and will forever be a warrior. Looking forward to the future and my last year of college ball. # forks up. # AGTG 2G. But anyway, he posted the pictures of him in the Arizona State gear, and that is where he is going. Hunter, your thoughts on his ultimate landing spot?
I mean, good for him. Honestly, if you're able to make the jump, in some ways you got to do it, especially if you're going to potentially make an impact up there. I doubt a decision like that was made unless it's almost secured that he's going to play and potentially start on that team, because you're unplugging from one where you're the dude and then you're wanting to replug in somewhere else. You want to, in a sense, as a player, secure the bag in a way where you're not shooting yourself in the foot by removing yourself from one program. With other guys, everybody's decision in the transfer portal is different, but a lot of times when guys go level or even a level down from Hawaii, in my opinion, I don't always understand those, because you've got a great thing going here. You've got a great career being developed at University of Hawaii, and the greener grass syndrome is not always as green as what you might see. But in a lot of these guys' scenarios, like Corey, like Muasau, like Lualu, if they're able to make an immediate impact at the Power 5 and big Power 5 level, I think you got to do it. And you got to think about your own career and your own opportunity. So, hats off to him. I wish Corey nothing but the best, because he absolutely deserved a shot like that with how he played this last year.
Yeah, he's a great story, right? He was a running back coming out of high school. He had offers from like Hawaii, Montana, I think New Mexico. Like he was not a highly recruited guy, and he comes to the University of Hawaii. He sort of perseveres through a previous coaching change. He comes out and he absolutely lights it up, particularly the last couple of years, and he's got a shot now. And look, he's a guy with the numbers that he's putting up. I would imagine aspires to play beyond college and going to a Power 5 program. And look, Arizona State's going through a bit of turmoil of their own. They've lost like half their coaching staff. Herm Edwards is sort of, on the hot seat when it comes to improprieties potentially. But it's a great opportunity. It's the Pac-12. And I think he had interest from other spots of similar caliber within that conference across the landscape of college football. And so I'm with you. I think it probably comes with the understanding from him that, he's got a good shot of playing a lot, and good for Corey Bethley. And so that kind of segues us into some of these YouTube and Facebook comments that we got. Our guy, Al from Virginia, or Al from VA. I don't know if we've ever gotten confirmation that he is actually from Virginia, but he's been a regular listener, viewer, I guess if it's on YouTube. and commenter, and we always appreciate it, even though he doesn't always agree with us. That's fine. But he asked, is Corey Bethley's decision to not accept Coach Chang's blanket offer for players such as Bethley to return to the program an indictment of Coach Yoro, Brown, Elimimian, etc., the ability to further develop him for the next level, was the question.
I don't think so. Not at all. I from my experience, Corey had a great relationship with both Yoro and Coach Abe. Even though Coach Abe was the running backs coach this last year, let me pepper that in there for whatever reason.
No, fair point.
But then, with each guy, their decision is different from case to case. I remember whenever I was a player, Nick Nelson, who was a stud defensive back for us and kick returner, transferred from Hawaii to Wisconsin. And so that was a really big jump from our program. And I think he's still with the Raiders organization right now. Some guys, it's just time. And after the year that Bethley had, I mean, how many, 8 interceptions this last year? Was it? I can't remember what
something like that.
The exact number was, but you put that kind of flash out there, you deserve to get recognized and make the jump if you're able to. I don't think it has any slander on our coaching staff or their ability to further develop him as a student athlete. I think it's time to go sometimes. And I think those coaching staff would send him out with open arms as well.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's tough to kind of say it's an indictment of the current coaching staff, right? And for Bethley, it seemed like he had a good thing going with Todd Graham, and I think that's why he initially decided to stay. And once Todd Graham decided he was out, you can understand why Corey Bethley's decision was to go seek an opportunity elsewhere. And I think, it's like, hey, if I'm going to start fresh, right, which this would be in a lot of ways with a new head coach at the University of Hawaii, maybe I start fresh at a Power 5 level. Like it's hard to argue with that. And we've seen that as the path forward for a number of these guys. And so I think, it's yet to be seen what the coaching staff under the direction of Yoro as the defensive coordinator is, right? He hasn't had that opportunity at the University of Hawaii just yet. And so, kind of on the theme of the coaching staff, our guy Al from VA as well, said that, the real story is the disproportional number of FCS and D2 experience versus FBS in the coaching staff. And I think, we touched on that a little bit, Hunter, last week, but that's sort of the reality of where Hawaii is, right? Both from a standpoint of just the pecking order in college football, as well as where they are from the standpoint of timeline, right? Hiring quite late in the cycle. You were probably going to have to look for guys at lower levels, guys that maybe are looking, that are hungry to come up and do things, right? I think of a guy like Brian Smith. I think of a guy like Craig Stutzman, who had a lot of success coaching Division III football in Brian Smith's instance at Occidental, or Stutz, who coached, Division II. Then he had a good run as receivers coach at Weber State. These guys got the promotion, if you will, to FBS football when Rolo got the job, and their offense turned out to be pretty good. Those guys working together. So I don't necessarily think it's a stink, that these guys are working at lower levels. It's football. It's college football. And I think coaching guys up, that translates. I think the big jump is just recruiting, right? Can you recruit a higher caliber of player? That to me is the biggest question mark for guys making this leap.
Yeah. Let's not forget what all has transpired in the last 3 months with Hawaii football. And so anybody in our conference at the Division I FBS level that's, hip to the wire, that is the greater college football, spectrum, understands that, hey, maybe Hawaii isn't necessarily the best place to be right now in terms of being on a coaching staff. I think anybody seeing that with, coaching experience sees that we've got not just a program that's in disarray, but potentially an entire athletics department with everything that has gone down. And so I completely agree with you, Jordan. The timing of everything was not ideal. And they're really just trying to do their best with the time at hand. So and the guys that are available to them. So yeah, I mean, I give these guys a lot of credit. I'm have nothing but the best hopes for them in this coming year.
Yeah, it's going to be. They got to go out and prove it, no doubt about it. I'm not saying that they've done that yet, but I think they've shown success at lower levels. They deserve an opportunity to go out and potentially prove that. A shout out to some of the other guys who left us comments over the last couple of weeks. I know we haven't gotten to just quite get to everybody. Our guy Joseph, talking about he loves the youth on the coaching staff. Our guy Dan, who threw his vote in there for June Jones at the time when the hiring process was going through. Nolan, Michael, expressing a lot of excitement, positive energy around the program. Kavika leaving some comments as well throughout the hiring process. And then Leonard, who's been one of the commenters from the beginning of the life of this podcast as well. He's also been very, very vocal and supportive, I think, of the program and expressing a little more optimism maybe over the last couple of weeks. So that would be kind of fun as well. He even asked, he said, "Hey, Hunter, I would love to hear some of your ideas regarding UH athletics." He said, "No one is too small to share great ideas to improve the program." So I guess that's me just lobbing the softball up, Hunter, and you can take that any which way you want.
Oh man, thank you, Leonard. I think there's a couple things. First and foremost, we got to break the mold with Hawaii football of bringing in a new coach every 4 or 5 years. We cannot build a long-standing environment of success if we're needing to reinvent the wheel every few years with coaching staff, offensive, defensive schemes, recruiting ability, and especially with the ability to recruit for the state of Hawaii and all the players that come from there. So if we're going to improve on the long end, we need a long-standing coach like what we have with Coach June that is invested in Hawaii, wants to be here. Potentially, they're okay working on the cheaper end. If you look at the greater span of college football, a lot that goes into that. And then you can start locking into building up infrastructure, building up facilities, recruiting better, and winning that battle against our competitors in the Mountain West. But if you're constantly worrying about a new head coach every couple of years, it's like 2 steps forward and then 4 steps back, it kind of seems. So that's the first thing that I would focus on, and we'll just leave it at that right there. Let's focus on one big thing at a time.
You got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And the biggest of plans got to start with some solid foundation, some building blocks, no doubt about that. All right, Hunter, before we get out of here, we got a couple of minutes. Logical overtime question here. Rams Bengals Super Bowl, who you got?
I want Joey Burrow, but it ain't happening. I want Joe really bad, but I think he's probably going to get sacked 7 or 8 times. So I think that defensive front from the Rams is just going to prove too overwhelming for the Bengals.
I'm with you. I think back to last year. I think back to last year's Super Bowl, and I talked myself into the Chiefs because they have this mercurial quarterback. They've got all of this receiver talent, but that offensive line was decimated, and they had to block, Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh and Shaq Barrett and like all of these guys, right? And it ended up just being a mismatch, and the offense for Tampa Bay obviously got the job done. And I think it's a similar story. Like, I think that's kind of what I see. Like, Joe Burrow has been a wizard. Like, It's been their offensive line is 30th in football. He's been sacked a billion times. He got sacked 9 times in that Tennessee game.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a fluky game. Like, they had to come up with multiple turnovers in their own half of the field to win that football game. They've won games on last second kicks multiple times in the playoffs. And so I just don't know if he is, legit Harry Potter and can pull all of that magic again and again and again. I think it's just like that front against that offensive line. Like, I'd be foolish not to think that it's a tale as old as time in football, right? Like, there's no way that can hold up. And then the Rams, they take care of the football. If they do that, I think they're fine. I think they're fine, and they win this game. So I'm with you. I'm going with LA on this, even though I kind of want to see Joe Burrow win it too. I think that's where my heart is, but I think my mind tells me like, come on, don't be an idiot.
Yeah,
line of scrimmage. It's the line of scrimmage, right? That's what's going to win this game, even though we're talking about the quarterbacks most of the time. So yeah, I'm with you there, Hunter. Enjoy the game. Enjoy your wings. You make them or you ordering? What's the plan?
I'm gonna be in Tahoe this weekend, so I gotta find a wing spot close by.
There you go. Yeah. Start putting your orders now.
Yeah.
Make sure they're not gonna run out of chicken on you. Well, safe travels, my man. We will see you next week as we start further and further looking forward to next season. Gonna have a lot to talk about right here on Hawaii Football Now. Big thanks to our guy Jaron as well on the controls. This has been Hawaii Football Now, episode 24. Crazy to think we're almost at 25, a quarter century next week. We'll see if they keep us on the air by then. Right. Presented by Xanthison. A big mahalo to Spectrum Mobile as well. You can hit me up on Twitter at Jordan Helle. You can hit up Hunter at All Around ATH. Please sure to drop us a line. You can hit us up on YouTube, Facebook as well. Big mahalo to all the loyal listeners out there. We'll see you next week. Aloha, everybody.
You've been listening to Hawaii Football Now with Jordan Helle and Hunter Hughes, all from ESPN Honolulu.